Boom, what's up? It's Scott Payne. I'm going to teach you today how to solve the most important question on the entire PMP exam. All right, before I go deep into it, I want you to kind of think about your past year. And if I had to ask you, what are the three biggest things you've learned over the last year? Take a second, pause the video, go related to your business or life. I don't care. What are the biggest three lessons that you've learned? What are they? Pause the video. What are they? What are they? All right, if you got them, think about what those ideas are, and then I'm gonna ask you a second question. Is the memory attached to them how you got that realization? Is it a positive thing or a negative thing, right? Did you go through, oh, eureka, this was such a great experience, or did you get that realization through strife, turmoil, problems, bumping your head against the wall, stubbing your toe, having an issue? Now, I would say probably 2 out of 3 of those learnings, boop, 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 would always come from an issue, a problem, not a happy day, right? Something that you distilled out and said, I'm never going to let that happen again. I'm never going to make that mistake again. Either it's my fault or their fault. We're never going to go through that again. If you play cards or you do those things, I played poker a lot when I was younger. I never remembered the hands that I won, but I always remembered the hands that I lost, or I made bad mistakes, or I made wrong assumptions and stuff like that. And in reality, that's how we learn. And if you ask yourself, I bet, if you're not learning that way, then you're not getting better. But if you are getting better, you are learning that way. Does it make sense? So you might say, Scott, how does that relate at all to the most important question on the PMP exam? Well, it directly relates to exactly it. All right, so here's the fact. Now, all PMP questions ask you about significant issues. Duh, right? They ask you about, it's not like they walk in and say everything's great. Hey, where do you want to celebrate? No, they go, we have a giant problem. All right, so all our questions are related to problems. And you know what? A majority of them are related to drastic changes that are needed in a project. Either we started with the wrong assumptions, the stakeholders' expectations and desires have changed, we've made big mistakes, we've realized things, we want to improve something in the existing project, something there, all right? So this is, we're going this direction, we gotta go this. Or we go this direction, we gotta go this way. That little point of change is where a lot, and I mean a lot, of these PMP questions come from. And why do they do it? Because the questions are written by humans that are actually out in the field running projects. And where does their learning come from? Comes from problems that they've had. And so that comes back into the PMP exam because that's who writes the questions. Whoop, they come in and they're like, hey, these are the problems that I've had. This is where I've learned from. Wouldn't it be good to learn project management principles through these like episodes, issues? Yeah. And so if we think about that and go, yep, this is where my gold is. My gold is in how I manage change. So the most important question on the PMP exam, the one that you're going to see over and 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 over, is a question related to change. All right? Now there are 2 paths down the road. There's Agile and there's Waterfall. And what you need to know, most importantly, if you look back and said, Scott, I only got a couple minutes to study, I'd say this is what you need to study, all right? This is what you need to study. You need to understand how to manage change in Waterfall and Agile. So if we want to get, let's just say 18.25% of the exam right, we know in our hearts and in our soul how we're going to manage change. Now, to paint with a broad brush, let's go through it, all right? You might want to ask yourself right now, pause it and go, what's the difference between managing change in Agile and managing change in Waterfall? Like, what are the big differences? Pause it and put your answer in now, right? Play the game, play the game. All right, so what we need to think about this is communication and process is what we need to think about, and who approves things. So in the Waterfall world, first of all, what the Waterfall world all about? We have a good understanding of where we're going. We just nail down a really detailed plan on step-by-step how we get there. We align all our troops and we manage them to the nth degree, right? Traditional project management, that's the way it goes. It's worked for years, like build a big bridge type stuff. How do we handle change there? Well, it all goes back to the beginning. What do we do to establish what we are, what our expectations are? What we're going to deliver? Well, we have a baseline, right? We nail down that baseline. And then any change from that needs to be managed properly because the baseline tells everybody in the world, yo, this is what we're doing. This is our line, not in sand, but in concrete. This is what we're delivering. And so if we have a line in concrete, let's say scope, schedule, cost, we're going to deliver this at this schedule and it costs this much money. Any kind of big change from there, what do you think we need to do? We got to bust that concrete up and draw a new line in it. Makes sense? But we can't see ourselves as construction workers just breaking down that concrete all the time. No, we've got to officially do it because it's a big darn deal to break all that concrete up and reestablish a line and set all the people to a new way of doing things. Like, yeah, no. Here's the new schedule. Here's the new deliverable. Here's the new amount of cash that we have to do it. All right. So what do we need to do? We got to go through a change control board. And this change control board, well, the design is these are higher level thinkers, can see the bigger picture, can make value-based judgments off the situation that we have now. So as you see yourself in the questions, you have to realize your role. You have to realize that your role is a steward of the project moving forward. You have to realize that we have a problem. I have to get the right people in because it affects the baseline. I have to get the approval from the powers that be. And it's not the sponsor on their own. It's not the CEO. It's not the whatever. It's not you as the project manager. I'll just handle it. No, it's the change control board. And so what you have to do is you have to frame up, hey, I analyzed the problem quickly. I brought the team together. We've evaluated solutions. We put them together. We make, in a sense, a proposal. This is the problem. This is our solution. Here's the rationale. Okay? Now, the type of analysis you do is dictated by the type of problem that you have. But in reality, you're handing that up to the big people, the change control board, and say, hey, I need a decision. And they're going to go and look through it and go, yep, no, maybe so. They're going to make a decision, yes, we're going to do this, or no. All right? And what happens there? Well, you got to live with it. You got to live with it because they are establishing the yes and no, the go or no go on this change. And if they say no, back to the grind you go. You must go forward. Now, if they say yes, we got to roll with it. We got to roll with it. So that is a formal process, the formal feedback loop, the formal approval loop that you got to go through there. Every single question, first of all, you got to identify, back to PMP questions now, is it waterfall? Is it agile? If you can't pick that out, you're going to be lost because you might be making a decision agile way or waterfall way. So you got to pick out if it's waterfall. Boom. Okay, it's waterfall. Great. It's past the planning process. Okay, cool. So I have a baseline. Sweet. This change affects my baselines. Oh no. What am I going to do? Now, the pressures are going to come from a lot of different angles. That's why it's a very common question because stakeholders are pissed off. The understanding of the project has changed and now they want more. We run out of money. Whatever it is, like there's tons of different things that could put pressures for a need for a change, but the answer's always the same. The answer's always change request, discipline change request. All right? So most important question, half of it, the waterfall side, bing, we got it right. Now let's go to the other side. This is in Agile. Change control board, do we get them to approve stuff? Do we have the sponsor approve it? Do we have who to approve it? Do we just do it on our own? Because we're a self-organized, self-managing team, right? Why don't we just make changes willy-nilly? Well, we have to understand how Agile and the Agile environment handles change. Now, the reason why we're operating in an Agile environment is because there is more implicit change expected in our project. It's not build a bridge. It may be design a product, deliver a marketing campaign, something where there's more flexibility in, we know where we're going, but our deliverable and a process to get it is more flexible. We don't exactly know how we're going to get there, right? So we need to set up shorter time windows, more feedback loops, more adjustments, right? We're more tactical, flexibly tactical in our approach. Now, when we have big changes there, first of all, you got to realize when you're in a sprint or an iteration, like we're delivering that, right? We can pull things out. We can't add them in there. So we have a backlog that maintains, hey, we want to change this about the scope, schedule, cost, whatever, or the product, all right? So the backlog is our reservoir of potentiality, what we could do. And an idea might pop up, greatest idea in the entire world. Can't just put it into practice, right? Because we have a sprint going on if we're doing iteration-based Agile. We can put it in the backlog, phew, pops to the top. We do our estimating, we do our refinement, we got it there, and it's ready to go the next time. So the first thing is we get ideas. It's not that we can just turn them into practice. We got to put them on the backlog. And certain things, like if we need more people, we need more money, we need more things, who do we get approval from there? Now in Agile, there's no change control board. Who is it? Who's that person? Who's that group? Who's that body that could approve big fundamental changes of the structure? That would be the product owner. The product owner is the steward of the project all the way through. So if we have these ginormous changes that we need to get approved, approach changes, significant increase in what we want to, funding or etc., we want to go get approval from the product owner. Hey, we need training for all our guys. It's going to cost $10,000. Who approves? The product owner, right? Something like that. So when we think through the environments, you got to see yourself in the game. You got to see yourself, okay, Waterfall, here we go. We're doing this detailed analysis. We're going through the change control board. Bing, bang, boom. We're getting it approved. And then boom, everything updates from there. We update our plans, our schedules, our baselines, our communication, all that jazz. See yourself in it. And in the Agile world, it's not that we don't have detailed. It's that they prefer collaboration in the Agile Manifesto, prefer collaboration over detailed overhead and documentation, right? It doesn't mean we're not going to do it, right? So we're going to go to that product owner and say, hey, we need this. Here's the logic. Here's how it's going to help. And they're going to make a value-based decision and say yes or no. And then that's the individual that, boop, get approval, and we move forward. So by understanding the nature of Waterfall and Agile and how it handles change, we're going to prepare ourselves for answering what I call the most important PMP question. So what I would do right now if I were you is I would think about how you're managing change in your normal life, okay? In your project life, in your regular life. Like, how are you managing change? Are you running like with your hair caught on fire? We'll just make rough decisions all the time? And think about the consequences that has, right? If you're being pulled from side to side, fight fire to fire to fire to fire, and you're shooting out of there, like not only do you not have a good understanding of what the project is, for certain your team doesn't, and that you're putting like whiplash on the organization, all right? Because you're zoom, 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 zoom. So if you reflect on yourself, you can get a little bit better at your job. You can set up standards. And then as you look at these questions, put yourself into it and ask, am I Waterfall? Am I Agile? What game am I playing? All right. What are the structures? Where are we set up? All right. Where are we in the project flow? Early, middle, late. And then what's the nature? What's the severity of the problem? Is it something that we can just make a minor change because it really doesn't affect either baselines or the project too much? Like this is just an organization. This is like a small change that we can make in Agile, or is it a big change? Now, if it's a big change, you know the game. Control board or product owner. Which one? But you got to go through those channels. So if you start recognizing it, you're going to see this pattern over and over. You're going to see, oh, that's a change question. Oh, that's a change question. It's going to look a little different, but it's going to be fundamentally the same question. So right now, look at yourself, see how you're managing change. Reflect on how it's done for Agile and Waterfall in the strictest sense. That'll help you improve and give you perspective on the questions. And then as you come back and you take PMP questions, slowly, efficiently, methodically, identify, ooh, this is a change question, and get yourself in that mindset. If you can do those two little steps, reflect on your own life, bring it back. Number two, realize that you're in a change question and guide yourself through it, knowing the two paths. If you do that, boop, 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 up goes your score. So that's the most important question. That kind of thinking is how you distill things down and break it down so that you get better. I got tons more little lessons and lenses and ways to look at stuff, but let's nail down this one. And if you want more help from me, you know how to get it. Go to PMmasterPrep.com. That's my site. And go up there and get Scott's help. Hit that button, fill in your details. Just tell me, hey, man, I'm about 13 days from the exam. I feel okay, but not great. Like, I really need to pass this thing because I got to get a better job, get flexibility, get all that stuff. Just tell me whatever your story is. You're lost in the woods. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to know. And then I'll say, okay, now that we've talked about that, let's nail down a solution that works for you, right? I got a path. I got an approach. It works better than anything in the world, and it will work for you because it's customized to what you need. But I got to start with the raw materials. I got to know what's going on in your life. So take the time right now. Go down there, Scott at PMmasterPrep.com, or you can email me, Scott at PMmasterPrep.com, or go to my website, PMmasterPrep.com, hit the Get Scott's Help button, and then put in your stuff. Customize approach based on your need. So that's it. Put this technique into practice. You're going to get better, and we're going to help you get your PMP. See you later, alligator.